Hey, what's going on guys? My name's Nerb and today I'm going to be showing you guys my personal build that I use to steamroll through the dark zone. Now keep in mind when watching this video, any stat or any talent in this video could possibly be changed or upgraded to make this build even better, but this is what I currently have, so this is what we're going to go over. So to start things off, we're going to be going over the guns that I use. Now, for the most part, you're going to be using this gun and this gun only, the Famas 2010. The reason why I use this weapon is because it has such a high fire rate, as well as decent damage to take care of any enemy very quickly. The two talents that I like running on this weapon is Ranger and Allegro. For the third one, I take Wascally. You could make it whatever you want, but I definitely recommend increasing the rate of fire as well as the damage at range on this weapon. For the attachments, I like to focus on optimal range, and the reason for this is because the Famas can shoot at a very long range very accurately. And when having a high optimal range, it means you can take fights at any range you feel like. So let's get into the gear and what stats you'll be looking for in all of your gear pieces. The most ideal mask you are going to want to look for this build is a mask that gives you a lot of percent damage to elites. For this build, I use the Providence Defense Mask, and the reason for this is because it gives me a 10% skill power increase. But the big juicy stat you are going to want to get is a high percent damage to elites as one of the attributes. The talent that I suggest getting for this mask is hard hitting because it adds an additional 15% damage to elites. And as you can see, this mask alone gives me a 46% damage increase to elites, which is just absurd coming from a single piece of gear. Moving on to the backpack slot, I use the Badger Tough. Now the reason I use this backpack is because it gives me an additional 7% damage to elites, as well as 4 different attributes. These attributes aren't the most important that you will find on a piece of gear, but for me, I have a weapon damage modifier and a crit hit damage modifier. The health and bonus armor are an added benefit, but you're looking to do as much damage as you possibly can with this build, so I see the health and the bonus armor as an added benefit. Now let's move on to probably the most important part of this build, the Fenris Group AB chest rig. Now the reason I chose this rig in this build is because it gives you an added 10% damage to your ARs, but the two talents that I have in it is Berserk and Hard Hitting. Now these are musts with this chest. On top of the 15% damage increase I get to elites with Hard Hitting, Berserk allows me to potentially get 100% damage increase when my armor is completely depleted, making it a must-have talent when using a shotgun, SMG, or an AR. Another little bonus with the Fenris group is I can get a defensive protocol mod, giving me armor on kill. 2000 may not seem like a lot, but it really helps. Moving on to the glove slot, I would say that this is the most flexible piece to this build. But for this build, I decided to go with the Olympic gloves. The sole reason for this decision is because I get a 10% weapon handling increase. The two talents that you should be on the lookout for is Precise or Devastating. Precise gives you a 15% headshot damage increase, or Devastating, which gives you a 5% weapon damage increase. As for the attributes, I suggest looking for the one that gives your assault rifle the most damage. For our last two gear items, we're going to be going with the Wyvern Wear on both the holster as well as the knee pads. I chose this brand because I use the drone. Now, if you don't use a drone, you can change these out for something else, like maybe Douglas and Harding, but personally, I think the Wyvern Wear is the best, as it gives you an insane amount of crit hit damage. And once again, the talent that you're going to want to be looking for is Devastating, as it gives you an additional 5% weapon damage. As I mentioned before, for the knee pads, we're going to be using the Wyvern Wear set. And the reason for this is because the second part of the set effect is a 15% drone skill power. I'm a big fan of the drone, so I use this. Now, you may not be, so you can change this to whatever you like, but I definitely suggest trying it out to see what you think of it. Now, the talent that I use is Cloaked, and I definitely think that it can be upgraded to something better, but I personally keep it on Cloaked as for now because it allows me to get rid of some of the skills that enemies might throw at me. Now moving on to the skills, the two that I like to use with this build is the Defender Drone and the Reinforcer Chem Launcher Kit. And the reason for these two skills is because the build's main goal is to be breezing through each enemy as fast as you possibly can, which is why I think the Defender Drone is probably the best asset to this build, as it allows you to stay at low armor so that the berserk talent that you have is getting its maximum use. Another skill that I think is worth mentioning is the Mender Seeker Mine, and the reason for this is because we will be using the survivalist skill tree with this build. Really quickly, I'm going to be going over the survivalist skill tree and showing you where to put your points to help this build out the best that you can. The more points the better you have, but the ones that you're going to want to upgrade is the 15% damage increase to ARs as well as the upgrades to the Mender Mine. If you're playing in a group, I definitely recommend getting incinerator grenades in the survivalist tactical link in the bottom right, as it allows your teammates to do much more damage to enemies. Now feel free to pause this video at any moment right now, as I'm just going to quickly scroll down through the gear talents, the weapon talents, and just my stats in general. When looking at this page, you're going to want to make sure to keep in mind that you are actually meeting your talent requirements, meaning that you're either going to need less or more of a specific skill type in order for your talent to be used. And another big thing with this build is that it is a very consistent build, meaning that it is not reliant off of crit hit chance or crit hit damage. That's just an added little benefit that you get. Now that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think of this build, as it's the first one I've ever done in any division ever, and I would really appreciate the feedback. Also, my next video I'm going to upload will be a build dealing with the exotic shotgun that you can get in this game. So if you'd like to see that, consider subscribing. But anyways, thanks for watching and have a great day.